why so many e-commerce brands lose money on fulfillment? To find out, stay tuned to the Ecommerce Revamped Podcast.
Welcome to Ecommerce Revamped, powered by Miva, the engine behind seamless online stores. Now here's your host, Rob Stanley.
Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of Ecommerce Revamped. I'm Rob Stanley, your host, obviously, and we got a great one we're going to talk about today. E-commerce fulfillment mistakes that kill profits. That's a pretty wide open area, and we got a lot of great questions we're going to cover. So we're going to get Jagath in here from Ordoro. Let's bring Jagath into the studio. So, hey, how you doing, Jagath?
Good. Hey everyone. Hey Rob. Great to be on this show.
Excellent. So we got a big category and a lot of questions to talk about and give out some great advice for some sellers on, how to kind of basically make some changes and things they can do to stop e-commerce fulfillment mistakes and not kill their profits. Kind of changing that question or the title around a little bit, but let's kick this off and go straight into it with some great thoughts or processes, especially when it comes to what's the hardest part of selling across multiple channels. What have you seen?
Yeah, so I'll kind of start with why it is important for you to sell online, right? Let's say you started a store on any of the platforms, and you have like a decent amount of traffic that's coming in. That's great. The advantage of having your own branded site, it's almost like running your own boutique store on the main street, where you get to completely control the whole experience. And you get you can define the customer experience, and you have 100% handle over the customer's journey through the process of buying from you. But there's another opportunity that you need to also pay attention to, which is like, how do you get your product listed on marketplaces like Amazon or Walmart.com or any of these marketplaces? The advantage of that is it's kind of like listing your products on the supermarket shelf, right? There's a lot of traffic that's already on Amazon. There's a lot of traffic that's already on Walmart.com. By having your product on the shelf, you are getting in front of more eyeballs. These are all traffic that are definitely interested in the product category. And if your product is not there on the shelf, they're going to buy a competitor's product. So it is very important to get your product on the shelf along with the competition, while also have your own branded store experience. Now, the struggle with this is once you start getting into this multi-channel selling, is that now you're really dealing with like 2 or 3 different systems, right? Let's say you're listing on a Miva store, you're listing on Amazon, you're listing on Walmart. You're actually dealing with like 3 different platforms, and they all operate independent of each other. You need to make sure that the data is in sync. So the products that you're listing are always synchronized across all of these stores. When you're getting orders, and let's say that in the simplest case, you're shipping everything out of your warehouse, you need to make sure that all the orders are getting captured correctly from all these platforms, and everything is being aggregated into one area where you can go, your warehouse staff, your customer support staff at any point have a complete list of all the orders coming from all these places, everything in one place. So that's the first thing you need to make sure that you get right. The second thing that you need to focus on is making sure that you are representing the correct data across all these stores. So let's say the simplest case is you're shipping everything out of the same warehouse, right? You're selling a product on your website, on Amazon and Walmart. Let's say someone bought like 10 units of that on your website. You need to go reduce the stock level on Amazon. You need to go reduce the stock level on Walmart. If you don't do that, what happens is you may run into a situation where the Amazon has incorrect stock level, and the customer ends up buying from Amazon. They end up buying your product, and then when you go into the warehouse to fulfill that order, you realize that you're out of stock. And that's really bad for most of these marketplaces, because they will give you penalties if you took an order that you're not able to ship or are getting delayed. So a lot of this is about juggling and keeping the data in sync. So there are huge advantages of listing in multiple marketplaces, but at the same time, you need to make sure that you have the correct systems and processes in place, because if you don't do that, you'll end up in a worse off situation where you took orders from all these places, you're not fulfilling it on time, and overall your brand suffers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. When I was selling online, I wanted my product everywhere that anybody might possibly look for it. So 100% agree with you. You were mentioning shipping. Some of these smaller companies, they may have a small warehouse. And like you were mentioning, they may have to ship it to different places or fulfill orders off different platforms. Do you have any tips that you could kind of maybe give on how to save money on shipping for some of these smaller shops or companies that are doing this?
Yeah, so shipping, particularly domestic shipping in the US, let's focus on that. You need to really understand how all of that works and all the different types of contracts out there. So, for example, let's take USPS, right? You're shipping your products using the postal service. You can either pack up everything and then walk and drive to the post office and then drop it off. And then if you do that, the price that you get for per package is what is known as a retail price. Or you could go print labels online, even through USPS.com or something like Stamps.com. There you start getting commercial price, or you could go through a shipping software um, and we do offer Ordoro does offer shipping software, but there are several other companies like us who offer shipping software. You go through one of us, what you will get is known as a deeper discounted commercial rate. So the way this market works, particularly with USPS, is that USPS has negotiated rates through platforms like Ordoro or any of our competitors. They also have online rates, and then they have retail rates, which is what you get in the post office, right? So these rates that you often get through platforms like us are way, way discounted compared to the rate that you get from the post office. So if you have even like a decent volume, even if you're shipping like 5 packages a day, you're much better off printing those shipping labels through a platform like Ordoro instead of like driving to the post office, because you can save a lot of money. Now, I talked about postal service, but they're not the only ones to do this model. UPS has a similar model. UPS has a discounted rates program, which you can access those rates if you go through companies like us. FedEx has similar rates. So that's at the lower end, right? At the higher end, as your volumes grow, most of the merchants kind of figure out that this is how it works. But at very high volumes, you can go negotiate your own rates from USPS or from UPS or FedEx. You basically approach the company, or most usually what happens is that the sales reps from those companies will approach you and then say, okay, what's your order volume? Let's say it's like 5,000 packages a month or 10,000 packages a month. They will come up with a negotiated rate, which is even better than the rates that you get through every platform, right? Obviously, that comes with certain thresholds. You need to hit certain numbers and all of that. But you need to understand that that's how the market works. So at the lower end, you should always go get platform rates from one of the platforms like Ordoro. And at the high end, you need to get your own negotiated rates. It makes no sense for you to just go to a UPS store or a USPS post office and just ship using the published rate. So that's the number one thing you need to take a look at.
Yeah, agree with you 100%. Unless you're super tiny and you're selling, one or two a month, I would look at Pirate Ship. That's what I used for just a couple little things here and there. Yeah. At least it's not a super big discount, but it's at least a discount. That's Pirate Ship. I think it's pirateship.com. Sticking with kind of the warehouse and inventory. So we were talking about selling on multiple platforms, and basically, you don't know if you're going to get swamped off one platform and all of a sudden your inventory goes down, or you're going to get it from another. What kind of suggestions you have on how to balance that sort of too much inventory versus too low inventory, especially when it comes to not knowing exactly how much sales you're going to get from one platform versus the other, or they're both going to pull a lot of your inventory?
Yeah, so there are two aspects to this. One is for the given amount of inventory, how are you going to allocate it across platforms, right? There are different strategies. One is you can split it. You can split it either 50-50, or you can say, like, I generally know, for let's say I have a Miva store and I know that 70% of my sales is going to come through that and 30% is coming through Amazon. So in that situation, you can take your existing inventory and split it 70-30 and then publish. Let's say you have 100 units. You go to Miva and say, I have 70, and on Amazon, you have 30. So that's another strategy you could use. Another common strategy that I've seen a lot of people use is that you are going to display 100 units on either channel. That way, you're not really like breaking it up or dividing it up. But in that situation, the first point that I made, you need to have a system that's constantly synchronizing as orders come in. You sold 10 units on Miva. Now you totally have 90 on stock. You need to update 90 on both the platforms, right? So you need to constantly juggle those numbers. So that's another strategy that I've seen. I've also seen people do reserve accounts. For example, I have 100, but I'm going to say I always want to keep 20 on reserve, and I'm only going to display 80 on all these channels. So all of that, there are different strategies around how do you display the existing amount of inventory across channels, right? There is a second aspect to this is deciding how much you even need to keep in stock. And this is a very well proven science, and larger companies, larger corporations have a lot of science and math that goes into this. They calculate safety stock. The concept is very simple. You need to, let's say that you have a forecast. You know that over the next 3 months, I know, because of all the promotions that you're running or seasonality and everything for a particular product category, you know what your sales is, right? Let's say you're able to forecast that. You can now backtrack that and say, okay, in order to sell this much, and I know that how long does it take for me to restock my warehouse from the supplier. Using all of those, you can pretty easily calculate how much amount of stock do you need to keep in your warehouse, right? So if you can restock very quickly, you don't need to keep that much in stock, because every time you're running low on stock, you can place an order. But let's say the supplier takes 6 months to restock, then you basically need to like stock almost like 6 months worth of goods in your warehouse, because otherwise you're going to run low on stock. So there are a lot of things you can factor in calculating this. So those are the two aspects on how you decide how do you allocate the existing stock across channels, and how do you even decide how much you need to stock in the warehouse.
Yeah, great answer, and that's very true. When it comes to the warehouse, and let's say with the small to medium-sized businesses that are out there running and selling items, when should they kind of look at maybe outsourcing their warehouse, like to like a 3PL, a third-party logistics facility, third-party warehouse? When's that kind of right time?
Yeah, so my advice here always is that when you're just getting started, you should fulfill the orders on your own, right? Let's say you're only shipping 10 packages a day. You can easily do that within less than an hour. You should be able to like print out shipping labels, pick, pack, and ship it out. So 10 packages a day, it's like what, you're at like 300 orders a day, even all the way going up to like 500 orders a day. You can afford to just ship everything on your own. This does two things. One is you start really understanding your fulfillment operation. You start understanding your customer order patterns and everything. And the second thing that it does is it starts giving you a sense of what is your per order cost, right? Now, as you scale, as your order volume grows, let's say you're hitting like 50 orders a day, 100 orders a day. This is where you can start thinking about, is it better for you? Is it more economical for you to hire warehouse employees and then fulfill and start operating a small warehouse, or are you better off outsourcing everything to a 3PL? So in order to make that decision, one of the important things you need to kind of weigh the costs, right? So you need to really understand what is your per order cost. So in order to ship an order, if you have an employee, or even if it's accounting for your own time, you need to know how much is your hourly labor cost, and what is your pick pack cost, and then your shipping label cost, and maybe even the packaging material cost. So you need to understand that clearly. You also need to understand what's your storage cost. In this case, if you're actually renting a warehouse, you know what your monthly rent is, right? Now you need to compare that with what the 3PL is going to charge you. So when you get a quote from a 3PL, they're going to charge you, here's a storage cost, and here is maybe they have minimums, and here's like a per order pick pack ship cost. And they'll even charge you a receiving cost if you're shipping in bulk. So now you can really compare apples to apples. From a cost economics point of view, you'll have a good sense of what's that break-even point for you where it makes sense for you to move to a 3PL. But there is another very important aspect that you need to factor in. Once you sign up for a 3PL, you're effectively losing control of the whole brand experience. You need to not just look at the cost offered by a 3PL, you also need to look at how reliable are they? Are they going to ship on time? Are they going to ship using your branded packaging? Because ultimately, when the customer receives the product, if it's like the packaging is broken or the product is arriving late, it's going to impact your brand. So you need to definitely add a premium for that. And it's very important that you thoroughly vet the 3PL before you sign up for them, and don't just look at the cost that they're claiming. Also, maybe ask for customer references and look at like reviews online to make sure that this 3PL is actually going to deliver on the brand experience, because you don't, even if it's like at break even, you may still be better off shipping on your own because you have a lot more control on the brand experience. So you need to factor in that premium also when you choose a 3PL.
Yeah, I do that research. I mean, you're putting your company's life in their hands, basically.
Exactly.
Especially with the products getting to them, getting to people on time, not losing products. if people decide to just leave it in their own warehouse and do their own shipping, there's a lot of automation. There's a lot of possibilities for automation, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. After we come back, let's talk a bit about some of these automation options and how they can cut cost and errors right after this commercial break.
If you're getting traffic but not conversions, your site might be the problem. At Miva, we help e-commerce brands fix the leaks in their funnel, from speed to structure to checkout. Get a free expert website audit at miva.com/podcast and see where you're losing money and how to stop it.
So head on over to miva.com/podcast and check out the free audit you can get on your website. We'll do a full evaluation of everything. Head on over there, fill out the form. We'll get you a free audit. So I've got Jagath on from Ordoro, and we're just about ready to talk about, if you have your own warehouse, what are some of the automation, either tools or service? What can you do to automate some of the tasks, cut your costs, but also reduce some of your errors? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I would say the first automation that you would choose, you should start with, even if you're a tiny warehouse with like one employee, is use barcodes, right? It's a no-brainer. Barcode scanners are so cheap. You can find like a $25 USB barcode scanner on Amazon, and pretty much all your products are going to have barcodes anyway. Use barcodes while fulfillment, because that'll guarantee you that you're shipping the right product to the right customer. I've seen this so many times. I've seen customers come to us with a no barcode scan workflow, and then after starting with Ordoro for their fulfillment, they also turn on the barcode functionality and drastically reduce their error rate. It's almost like error rate almost goes down to zero. And this becomes especially important because as you scale, as your warehouse grows, what you'll most likely end up doing is that you'll probably hire like part-time employees. Maybe these are high school kids or someone who's not really like a true warehouse operator. Even in a situation like that, it's very important that you automate as much as you can and then eliminate all possibilities of error. So I would strongly recommend that you look into barcode scanning and choose any fulfillment system that offers barcode scanning. The second thing that I would suggest is start using like pick lists and pack lists. So again, these are standard flows. Instead of just like printing one order at a time, you can group together orders. You can group together, okay, let's say you have a particular product and then you got like 25 orders for exactly the same product. You can group all those orders together, print one pick list, and then you walk to the warehouse and pick the 25 units of that, come back to the packing station and put them all in. And then again, here you use barcode scanning to make sure that the numbers line up. Try to use, as your volume starts growing, once you cross, let's say 20, 30 orders a day, definitely use a system to keep track of your orders and shipping. There are, again, like Ordoro is one of them, but there are several other companies that do this. All of these companies like us, what they allow you to do is almost like a workflow queue management, right? Every orders are coming in and we'll show you what status that is in. And then once it's shipped out, it'll go away from the queue. So have this queue management system to make sure that you're not missing an order. I've seen a lot of people get started with just like an email. It's basically their email inbox is the queue, right? Every time an order is placed, they get notified and they just like marking and archiving those emails. So that's fine when you're getting like 5 orders a day, but as you grow up, start automating things. And then from there, it can go further. You don't need to really think about like conveyor belts and robots picking stuff. That's for the very high end. But even at like 10,000 orders a month, you can still have like manual picking with barcode scanning and pick pack list. That alone will like drastically reduce your error rates.
Yeah. Jagath, what about there's people out there that are looking at maybe starting a business. Maybe they already have a business going and they're looking to expand their product line. When it comes to drop shipping, I've seen people sell courses on it. Some say, oh, it's so easy, drive a Lamborghini, doing drop shipping. Right. Give us kind of your thought process on either a customer, if I'm a small business and I want to maybe increase my product line of similar products, but I don't want to carry them, maybe do some drop shipping. Give us a little bit of the reality of, is drop shipping really easy or is it not so easy?
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up Lamborghini. I think there's the inside joke in the industry is that those people that you see who are always standing next to the Lamborghini or sitting in a private jet and selling dropship courses, they actually make a lot more money selling the dropship courses and they don't make any money on dropshipping. So dropshipping is a very tricky area and it's also widely misunderstood. there's a lot of scams there. Particularly, I'm not a fan of these people who sell courses because I think they're they they are who they're targeting is someone who does not really understand e-commerce. And let's say it's a college kid, and I know people who have done this, right? A college kid who just decides that, okay, I can drop ship a lot of stuff cheaply from China and then make a lot of money, and then I can drive my own Lamborghini. The reality is like far from that. So I've seen two segments of drop shipping. I'll talk about each one. The first segment is, again, people who are trying to get rich quick. So what they normally do is that they'll open up a web store, and there are several platforms who target those kind of sellers, and they list a bunch of products. And when the order comes in, they will route that order directly to the manufacturer in China, let's say, and then from there they're going to ship it directly to the customer. So all of this works great and they'll probably make a small margin, let's say $1 per order or something. This works great on paper, but pretty soon you realize that you're not going to make much money from it. And then the quality is going to suffer. The customer is going to be unhappy because they place the order and maybe it takes like 4 weeks to get the product, right? So that's the low end of the segment. But at the high end of the segment, I have seen very successful dropship models. So let's talk about that, because that's where it gets really interesting, and that's where you can actually make a lot of money. So what I've seen at the high end is these are successful stores. They already have a product line. They're already getting orders. Now they want to expand their product portfolio, right? So let's say they want, let's say I'm selling like 1,000 products. I want to add 200 more products into my website that belong to the same category, because I'm already attracting traffic, and I know that someone who bought one of my 1,000 products is very likely going to buy one of these 200 products. So there are two options. You can either go through the traditional route where you buy up all inventory for all the 200 products, stock it in your warehouse or 3PL, and then they just become like any other product on your website. Or you can say that I don't want to buy inventory for this yet. I'm just going to do drop shipping. So what you'll do is you list your products, and the order comes in, and if the order is for one of those 200 products, it's not getting shipped out of your warehouse. It's going directly to the manufacturer, and then they're going to ship it out to the customer, right? The advantage here is that two things. One is you're capturing the existing demand. Second is that you're gathering a lot of data on how well can you sell this product, and within those 200, which products are actually going to sell really well. And then once you gather that data, you can decide that, okay, now I'm going to bring it in-house, because it may be better off for you to like stock it in the warehouse and ship it. So drop shipping is a really good way of like expanding your product portfolio and getting more orders. Now, the thing to be careful here is that, just like I talked about 3PL, when you are drop shipping, you are in a way handing off the brand experience to someone else, which is basically in this case, the supplier or the distributor. So you need to choose your partners very wisely. What if they don't ship on time, or what if they make a mistake, or what if they ship in like broken packaging, right? It's your brand that's going to suffer, because the customer is going to say, hey, I bought from this person, this website, and the order never arrived, or I got the wrong product, or it was like all broken. So even though the supplier is shipping for you, it's ultimately you're responsible. So you have to be very careful. Just like I said about 3PL, when you're choosing a drop shipper, you need to be very careful about the reputation of the dropshipper, and you need to make sure that you have all the correct terms in place to ensure they are shipping on time. So if you figure that out, at the high end, dropshipping can be very lucrative. And I've seen, particularly, I think in the automotive industry, I've seen a lot of people do dropshipping, because automotive, you may have 10,000 SKUs, and maybe you're getting only like 1 or 2 orders for a particular SKU in a given month. It doesn't make really sense for you to like stock that in the warehouse, so you dropship. So that's a classic example of why it makes sense for you to capture that demand on your website, because you're anyway getting a lot of automotive traffic, but it makes no sense for you to stock it because it's one-off orders.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of pros and cons. So we could probably do a whole episode on drop shipping, but we want to focus on what we're talking about, which is, e-commerce fulfillment mistakes that kill profits. Before we transition over talking about Ordoro more, I do want to talk a little bit about returns, because returns can really affect a customer's experience, their loyalty, just their commitment to your brand. So what have you seen when it comes to returns, and what's the best way to handle returns?
Yeah, I think the simplest way to think about it, and what I advise a lot of merchants, is that make your returns process extremely easy, right? depending on what category, if you're in apparel or fashion, your return rate is going to be very high. That's just the nature of it. People are just going to buy like 3 different dresses and they're going to keep one or like two and then return one, right? So I think I've seen like very high return rates on apparel and on fashion. So knowing that there is going to be returns, make it super easy because that's part of the whole experience. The fact that you made the return process so easy now gives the customer more confidence that the next time I buy from this company, and if I don't like something, it's going to be super easy. Like Amazon's obviously the king in this, right? And then we buy a lot of stuff from Amazon, and sometimes things are like it didn't fit, or maybe this is not the product that we expected. Makes the return process super easy. We just drop it off either the UPS store or Whole Foods. If you're a small brand, obviously you cannot do the Whole Foods UPS store drop off thing. But there are several apps out there that, or even depending on the platform, it could make your return process super easy. So either your website, if you're selling through Amazon, obviously Amazon has the return process or at least the return experience. But if you're selling through your website, make the returns terms super clear upfront. Have a returns page, and then ideally have a mechanism where the user can just go into your website and then initiate a return, and then you can even like create a return label and send it to them. But another thing that often comes up here is the order confirmation email or even the shipping email when you're shipping the product, or when the customer places an order from your website, you're going to send an order confirmation email to them. When you ship the product, you're going to send a tracking confirmation email to them. These are all places where you get to again emphasize your brand, and so those are two places where you can highlight how easy is it for you to return, because that really contributes to the brand experience and the buying experience, so that the customer knows it's going to be very easy for them to return the product once they buy from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you explained it just right. It's that Amazon effect, I like to call it. Everybody's so used to Amazon with the returns process being so easy. I shop on Amazon all the time too. So it's obviously one of those things. So you got to have that same mentality of, making that process easy and making it easy for the customer to return it and get it back to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you, Jagath, for that. I appreciate all these great tips you've been giving. And what I want to do is let's let everybody know a little bit more about Ordoro, what you guys do, what kind of platforms you plug into, how people use it, what kind of services you have. Tell us a bit more about Ordoro.
Yeah, so a quick plug for Ordoro is we are an inventory management, order management, shipping platform for small to medium-sized e-commerce businesses. So we plug it into platforms like Miva, Amazon, Walmart, and even platforms like Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, and all of that. And we let you aggregate all the orders into one dashboard, and then we'll help you manage the pick, pack, ship workflow, the barcode scanning workflow that I described earlier. We also are connected to carriers like UPS and USPS and FedEx and DHL and all that, and we have discounted rates with all of them. So if you print a label through us, you're guaranteed to get like one of the lowest possible rates in the industry. And we'll also allow you to like rate shop, right? So maybe for certain packages, USPS is better. For other packages, UPS is better. So we help you rate shop and ship out those orders. And we also keep the inventory in sync. If you're like selling across multiple channels, when you sell 10 units on Miva, we'll automatically go reduce the stock level on Amazon. So we help you keep track of that. And if you decide that you're going to expand your product portfolio through drop shipping, you can add those products on Miva or whichever platform you're using. And then you can configure rules inside Ordoro to say, these 200 products are being drop shipped. So when we detect an order, we will automatically route that order to the drop shipper. So we help you really streamline your order fulfillment operations and make sure that you're shipping the right product to the right customer on time, which is ultimately part of the whole brand experience and very important for getting repeat business.
Absolutely. So why don't you share with everybody, if they're interested in learning more about Ordoro, where do they reach out to, who can they contact, or where should they go?
Yeah, just go to ordoro.com, ORDORO, and you can go there. And then if you want to meet someone, I think our email is right there. It's info at ordoro.com, or you can email to sales, SALES at ordoro.com, or you can schedule an appointment if you want. We also have a free trial option. So if you're interested and you just want to kick the tires on your own and you don't want to talk to anyone on our side, that's fine too. You can just sign up on your own, and we don't need credit card or anything. Just sign up, and then play around with it to see if that meets your needs. But yeah, and we are here. We are based in Austin, Texas. So you can also call us. Our phone number is on the website. You call us during Central Standard Time, you'll get hold of someone from our team.
Excellent. Jagath, thank you so much. Listen, anybody who's having any struggles with order fulfillment or multi-channel, it sounds like Ordoro's got the solutions for that. And if you're not sure, give them a call. Just set up a call or go look at their website, read the information about them. Jagath, great having you on the e-commerce Revamped podcast. Really appreciate all the great information, all the great tips. Everybody, thank you so much for joining in. We really appreciate you coming on and listening to us or watching us, depending on what you're doing. And be sure to listen to the next episode. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to E-commerce Revamped. Ready to find out what's holding your site back? Get a free expert audit at Miva.com and see where you're leaving money on the table. Until next time, keep your carts full and your customers coming back.